detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us. 3 straight at the theatres. I mean, fuck, Jared. We'll have to start living there.
Yeah.
I mean, my wallet is sore.
Claim our popcorn refills and
your wallet should be fucking have exploded after you paid $60 to go.
well, the D-box was cheap compared to the fucking IMAX.
Yeah. But tonight we're going to cover off on Final Destination, Bloodline, which we caught in the D-box cinema last night. So looking forward to that. Before we get there, Jared, I haven't watched a lot, but I watched the Untold episode called Shooting Guards
Yes, as did I.
Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenden. That was interesting because it's a story that I didn't know a lot about. I do remember the incident, but you never really got an understanding of all the stuff around it. And I think that the documentary did a pretty good job explaining it all. Arenas came across as a bit of a dick back in the day. I think he probably
and he has done for a while.
He seemed to have mellowed a touch.
Yes.
I mean, I felt like his comment near the end where he basically said that sort of fucked up his life. And that was his fault essentially. I appreciated that. I thought that was probably not likely what he was going to say.
The thing for him was, he's one of these guys, he comes in, he says, I was the fun-loving, I was the class clown and all that sort of stuff. But everything you see, you're like, that shit's not funny, mate. You're just annoying.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that it ended up in someone getting the shits with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It went too far.
Yeah, definitely.
And it destroyed Crittenden's life, yes. You've got to look at it in context, though.
Yes.
Because Arenas and that incident had absolutely nothing to do with what came later.
Well,
they're connected.
The thing about it is they're connected because I think if he was in the league, he probably could have avoided some of that stuff.
Yes.
But, there was other people that kind of pointed out, well, he was already sort of hanging around with a crowd that he probably shouldn't have been hanging around with while he was in the league.
Yes.
So you never know, but I feel like, if he had got his chance and that hadn't happened, he might have hung around for a couple more seasons.
Well, he might have also had the chance and the time to actually realise this wasn't the right way to go.
Yeah.
And perhaps pull back from it, which he didn't have because by the time that incident occurred, he was out of the league. It wasn't long after he was out of the league. I, for some reason, thought he was really good. He wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He didn't really get much of a shot.
But he was more of a guy that, handy off the line.
He wasn't going to be a star player, I don't think, by any stretch. But he could have hung around for the average sort of NBA career span, and
even if he knocked up 5 years or something.
Yeah,
in the league. And the other one, obviously, I leapt, Jared, was Liver King. It was not good.
No, I didn't think it was very good at all.
I find it quite strange that it's part of the series in any form, considering the guy's not really an athlete. Yes, he worked out and did workout videos and all that shit, but primarily he's a businessman. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Because that's what he was in, the supplement game.
Yeah. He was already doing all right at that before the videos were coming around.
So to me, the link is kind of tenuous.
Yeah.
And it shows in the documentary, which is extremely fucking shallow.
Yeah.
And provides absolutely nothing apart from the fact, he was on roids. Well, fucking blow me down.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Because he looked like a fucking freak.
Yeah.
Of course he was on roids.
I think I caught him at the end there saying, again, no, I'm clean now. And I looked at him and I said, no, you're not.
I mean, the fact that there's a couple of people in the doco who are absolutely flabbergasted that he was on the gear. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Do you think that normal people look like that?
Yeah, no, I just work really hard. Yeah, I bet you do, but there is always a sort of clear difference between people that work really hard and then, take the extra little step.
Yeah. Look, I eat liver for dinner. Then after dinner, I jab things into my ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's fairly fucking clear.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of the guys who were running with him, when the videos started, and the marketing guys, they seem to have no fucking concept of the fact that he was on roids.
I think they're playing. They're playing Patsy here. Like it's
me.
Because one of them goes, "Oh, I said to him, I asked you that point blank, and you told me you weren't." Like, but you're in the same room looking at the guy. I mean, fuck. You've got your suspicion, surely.
Yeah, you lied to me, the fuck says.
Yeah, did that liver you ate happen to have a needle in it somewhere? Like,
yeah,
you took it without knowing?
tripped and landed ass down on a fucking needle.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like 6 months.
Oh, my God. But then they also don't grill him. He just kind of says, at the time I just thought, well, fuck it. I didn't hurt anyone. It's like, yeah, you didn't necessarily hurt anyone, but you are using this profile that you got to sell $100 million worth of supplements as part of this, these tenants that, my supplements are part of this kind of live like a caveman.
He's lived like a caveman. The last time I checked, Jared, cavemen don't fire fucking cannons out their
Cavemen didn't have
backyard.
cannons. Cavemen didn't have supplements in bottles delivered to their doorstep. I also love the fact where, we get this scene. I was fucking in stitches. Like, they kill a bull.
Yeah.
And he does this fucking thing about, oh, yeah, brother bull, you're giving your life for us. And I'm blessed to share all these last moments, blah, blah, blah. And then he starts crapping on about, get yourself out in nature and all this sort of stuff. Then he jumps in his fucking little ATV and drives back to his massive mansion. And I'm just kind of like, if you
fucking zero self-awareness.
Yeah. Anyone that saw this bloke and said, yeah, this is what I need to be like when he's selling products to you the whole time and stuff, it's like, fuck, just an ounce of kind of media literacy will tell you this guy's fucking bullshitting. Like,
but you're correct. They didn't grill.
no, not at all. He got off easy.
I wanted to know why we gravitate to these guys. Like, I think that would have been a very interesting way to take the documentary.
Yeah.
Because we've gravitated to vlogs like this before.
It was very light at looking at any of that stuff from those angles and was very heavy on, let's just follow him around with a camera and let him spout more shit and get off the hook.
I think
He's got zero fucking remorse about it all. He's still sitting there talking about crapping on about how great his life is and how rich he is and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, good, but that's not what I'm here to find out about, mate.
Yeah.
I was more in for it for like what you were saying. Get some people on there, some people that fucking study media for a living or work in universities that fucking break down this shit and
analyze why we become infatuated with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because if I'm watching videos from someone like this is what I said to you. Like, I'll watch a few YouTube videos from someone and sometimes think, oh, this guy's an idiot, but it's kind of entertaining. But the second he says, buy my supplements at $100 a bottle, I'm kind of like, well, no, I'm fucking watching your video, which you probably monetized pretty well, so I don't need to buy your fucking supplements.
I just feel like we certainly in this current climate, we gravitate towards these people. I mean, look at the girl. What was her name? The fucking Hawk Tour girl or whatever her fucking name is.
Mm.
We gravitate to people like this who have we have no reason to be that interested in, but we seem to be so fucking interested, and we turn them into something they get money out of. Like, you fucking monetize it like she's made a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Now, the Liver King has a bit more going for him than that because he's selling a supplement. He's selling supplements and he's
Yeah, it seemed like he was very wealthy before he was doing any of that shit.
Yeah. But why? Why do we go here? Why were we worried about this? I mean, he wasn't an athlete. Who cares if he took roids?
I thought it was funny too that we start off with him kind of making this fucking stupid video, but then we just jump into the story. We don't not kind of contextualise him shooting a video with 4 other blokes dressed up in silly costumes representing food or whatever, and then him fucking blasting one of them with a cannon. We're just straight into it. It was fucking, yeah.
And you'll buy supplements from that guy.
Yeah, of course.
The only interesting nugget I got was near the end.
Yeah.
Where we basically got told that he'd been a fucking grifter since he was a fucking
he basically tells you he was a grifter. And you're like, yeah. we kind of knew this. I think we knew this from the second you were saying, I'm natural. If you buy my supplements and eat some liver, you too can look like this.
Yeah. Fucking hell, all right. How many bull's testicles have I got to fucking chow down on to turn into fucking Incredible Hulk?
Oh, fucking hell.
Because I
funny.
Look, I don't know anything about this stuff, and I can tell you that clearly it's just not bull's nuts that gets you like that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought there was a little more to it.
Yeah. It was really bad.
Yeah, I thought it was shit.
I really thought it felt lazy that's even in there. You know, like it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the worst sort of
Netflix could probably have just had that as a doco on its own, right?
Yeah.
Instead of part of Untold.
Oh, just like you said.
I mean, it was shithouse anyway, but in the Untold sort of canon, it doesn't fit at all.
Yeah. And they didn't even, the closest they got to grilling him was when they showed a bit of reaction to his apology video, which, was a massive pile of horse shit on brand. But then they kind of just let him kind of just explain that away and keep on moving.
Yeah.
No one says to him, but no one fucking grinds when he gives an answer that's just fluff. There's not anyone behind the camera going
into it and goes, no, hang on.
Come on.
No, you're not answering the question.
Yeah.
Because
there's no Tara Brown behind the camera.
I suggest it's made by his people. The whole fucking thing.
It very much looked like it was somebody who just didn't want to piss him off, or wanted to make sure they could stay their whole run on his little ranch and get all the footage they needed without actually fucking putting anything worth really watching in those interviews.
We don't upset the guy.
Yeah.
No. Like, your job is to upset the guy.
Yeah.
Because he's a fucking liar.
Yeah. Put the squeeze on him a little bit.
That's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Squeeze him like he squeezed the bull's testicles.
Hard. It's really hard. No, Jared, isn't that the point of this?
Yeah.
The whole point of this is to say, you're a fucking liar. Explain why you're a fucking liar.
Yeah, explain yourself. And when he starts lying, you squeeze again and say, bullshit, pal.
That's lying, pal. But the problem is, we don't want to do that. Because we don't upset the guy.
I get it. Like, it's kind of a fine line, because you do want to get a bit of that. There was plenty of stuff that they could have used of him running around carrying on like a dick on his ranch.
You know what I think they were aiming for? They were aiming for Tiger King. This unfettered access would suddenly unload this shit, which is what Tiger King did. They went to see the Tiger King, and then suddenly all this crap fell out of it.
So desperate for fame that he'll fucking do whatever.
Exactly, and all this stuff fell out of the Tiger King one.
Yeah.
Which made it kind of like compelling viewing.
Yeah.
Not the sequel stuff. That was all, and that was proof that these things are like lightning in a bottle.
Yes.
The first season was lightning in a bottle with Tiger King because we just got this stuff that fell out.
Mm-hmm.
But then subsequent stuff, there was nothing there. It was just boring.
The avenue you had to go with this was to put the bloke under some fucking pressure and give us a bit of, what do you got to say for yourself?
Yeah.
Because all we got is, people aren't necessarily watching my videos anymore, but I'm still rolling in fucking money, and I'm still putting the fucking same message out. It's just not as many people are eating up the bullshit anymore.
Yeah, but still plenty of people are.
Yeah.
Still monetising for whatever the fuck I'm doing.
Yep.
So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in it.
I wasn't happy at all.
And I also watched another documentary on Netflix A Deadly American Marriage. You kind of didn't know which way to look in this one. By the end of it, I still didn't know how I felt about it or who did it or why. It was just kind of a little bit muddled. Maybe that's because the case is a bit muddled. But the documentary, once again, was just that Netflix kind of pre-packaged stuff, and it was vaguely interesting. That was about the best I can say for it.
Mm.
But that was it from my end.
Yeah. I didn't actually watch anything other than those two and what we got out to see, obviously.
Brilliant.
Bit slow this week.
Quick, slow week. Quick one before we go further. Up or down, Superman, full trailer. I'll go for an up.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm up. I'm trusting James Gunn.
Trusting.
I trust James Gunn with this.
It looks like they're going from an interesting angle too, with the whole her grilling him.
Yeah, I think he's earned the chance with what he's done in the superhero genre so far. And we've been waiting for a little bit of a, the Henry Cavill Superman was so fucking dark, all of it. Like, it was just, you had moments where Cavill's trying to be that light in there, but it was coming from such a negative kind of point of view a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward just to having a little bit of the Reeve-style Superman back.
A lighter tone. Everything about the trailer looks nice and light.
Still grappling with some of the questions that the more modern Superman movies tried to put out there from time to time. Man of Steel, for all its failings, was definitely trying to sort of put out there, how do you try to maintain that in a situation where it just seems like you can't. But I feel like Gunn's going to get the tone right, and it's sort of where it's going to differ from the Reeves and all that is that he's obviously bringing in some of the things like the Green Lanterns and stuff like that we were never going to see in those Christopher Reeve movies.
Yeah, agreed.
And quite a bit of that by the looks. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to put out there. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely an up for me. All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for Final Destination Bloodline.
So, which one of you is next?
You found some way to stop death and survive.
To break the cycle, there are only two ways. By killing, if you take a life, you get the time that person had left. Or you have to die.
What? No.
Good luck.
Final Destination Bloodlines in theaters May 16th. Rated R.
Final Destination Bloodline from 2025. Directed by Zach Lipovsky, who directed Dead Rising Watchtower, and Adam B. Stein, who directed Kim Possible. It's produced by John Watts, who produced Wolves, Toby Emmerich, who produced Frequency, Diane McGungle, who produced Cop Car, Craig Perry, who produced Final Destination, and Sheila Hanrahan Taylor, who produced Oddball. The story is by John Watts, Gary Busick, who wrote Ready or Not, and Laurie Evans Taylor, who wrote Cellar Door. The screenplay is by Busick and Evans Taylor. It stars Caitlin Santayana as Stefani Reyes, Tio Briones as Charlie Reyes, Raya Kilstelt as Darlene Campbell, and Breck Basinger as Iris. Budget's $50 million, which is pretty high for this series, if I'm not mistaken. But so far, $5.5 million in previews, and it's been estimated to make $43 million for the weekend in the US and around $80 million worldwide for this weekend. Pretty fucking good numbers, I think. Filming was originally set to take place from late July to October 2023, but when the SAG-AFTRA strike began in mid-July, production was delayed before finally commencing in March of 2024. All right, this is another reaction. Obviously we were fucking getting tossed around in our seats all left and right, so note-taking would have been extremely difficult.
Just, it was just keeping you awake at opportune
Well,
times.
yeah. Well, fuck.
she was a
it
later
was a
session.
late sesh. I was struggle town at some points, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I actually think that they kind of nailed it. Look, it's pretty fair to say there's not much new to be said here, but it's about craft. Strangely enough, for me, these films are all about craft, and if you can craft set pieces, fantastic set pieces, I cut you some slack for a plot that makes fuck all sense. And this one doesn't make fuck all sense, but it's pretty kind of convoluted and complicated, but it probably doesn't need to be. But who cares? Like, quite frankly, the opening sequence is fucking awesome. Like, I think that's the best set piece in the entire franchise, I think. It's really, really well done. It's fucking fantastically edited. I mean, honestly, I could not, and I shouldn't laugh, but when people get they drop from 100 feet and smash into the ground in a pile of blood to raindrops keep falling on my head, I couldn't stop laughing at it.
Yeah. That was the moment that told me, these guys know what they're making.
We're having some fun with it. Grotesque fun, but that's what we're having. You know, and I think that they pull it off pretty well. And as far as stars are concerned, I'd go 3.5.
Yeah, I was pretty close. I went for a 3. So I don't think the story was necessarily convoluted. I think what they went with was pretty solid, but it just kind of starts to lose its way a little bit towards the end. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really care about
We
all
kind of
that
lose
stuff.
interest.
Yeah, but as you said, all the set pieces and everything are a lot of fun. And I think the initial event that we always have in a Final Destination movie, I agree. I think it's the best one of the series by quite a way.
Yeah, it's really, really well done.
It was lengthy too, but it was time well spent.
Well, I guess it had to kind of place some things into play.
Yeah.
So that's why it was longer.
Yeah, so I think it was that stuff was worthwhile. They throw a couple of curveballs at us, which was good.
Yep.
I sort of enjoyed that. There was a stretch sort of after that involving one particular character where it's like, okay, I wasn't really expecting that. But yeah, a lot of the kills they're just placed nicely. Most of them we got a bit of a laugh out of, to be honest. And there was a couple where it was like, you were either laughing at it or you were kind of just like, oh, shit, that's pretty nasty. And kind of, so I think they placed most of it, they pitched it pretty well. So, yeah, my complaints more come sort of with I just felt like it petered out a little bit until, as we were sort of moving towards the finale, we sort of took a couple of detours that were just extended kills, basically, and this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, all in all, had a lot of fun with it. So,
I think
3 stars.
I think a movie like this, you can kind of let some of the bad shit go.
Yes, yeah.
Well, not necessarily go, but don't kind of hang your hat on it in terms of what that brings to the table, because all the set pieces are what you're there for.
Yeah.
And if you deliver in them, the movie's usually better for it. And
I feel
in this
like
case, it was really well played.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty clear that you are getting this from people who have a strong familiarity with the series and have kind of, we spoke about how we feel like it works a bit better when you're pitching it for just the fucking over-the-top fun.
Yeah.
Kind of, we always mentioned that 3 we felt like was the down part of the series because it was just too fucking off the rails and almost played it a little bit straighter, even though it was trying to be goofy in parts. Like the kills were just like, you're just shaking your head going, fucking come on. Whereas this one, you didn't get as much of that. You got it at a few times, but the payoff was always like, yeah, these guys know we're just here for the fucking gruesome sort of fun of it all.
Yes.
And I think they kind of nailed that, which was the important part of it.
Agreed. I think that the opening set piece, fucking fantastic.
Yeah, great.
It brought in some stuff for us that comes back later on in the film, which adds to the to the time it takes.
Yep.
But the way they went about kind of setting up all the shit going on at once, and we're waiting to see which one starts the ball rolling on everything. It's really well done. They kind of just do a little bit of around the grounds all the time to show you this is stuck in here, this is fucking flaming over here, this is fucking cracking here. I like that, and I think they balanced it really well. Some of the other Final Destination films didn't do that as well.
Yep.
So even something like 2, which I really like, even their opening gambit, it doesn't really do that. It just kind of has them get onto we see all the characters, they get onto the highway, and then the fucking logs fall and then everything goes to shit.
Yeah.
This played more like a sort of like a Rubik's Cube type of thing, or a fucking, mouse trap type of thing. And it worked really, really well.
Yeah. It did a similar thing, right? It threw a couple of characters in there and threw a couple of faces that we're going to see when shit's going pear-shaped. But as you said, you see people cooking, you see this and that, and you're like... So when it all starts to go, it's like, as you said, it's like they've put the pieces in play quite nicely, and then they're just, the dominoes are about to fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, just super entertaining. I mean, fuck, anytime you throw Shout at me as the dance floor number, I'm in. One of the great dance floor numbers of all time. But then, you've got shit going on in the midst of it all. Like, they do a little bit with that doesn't kind of go for a few minutes. You got the people on the dance floor and you're seeing things going on there, and they don't really come back to them for a couple of minutes afterwards. Like, yeah, I think you're right. They just put all these little bits in play. And then when when things start happening, it's a mixture of, you're tightening up. I mean, if you're going to play with something, for me, the heights is a pretty good one to fucking go for.
Yeah.
And then it all starts going, and you get like bits where you're like tightening up, going, oh, fuck, and a little, things that are a little bit gruesome mixed in with things that had me fucking roaring with laughter.
Yeah. Like old mate getting split in half when he tries to get into the elevator.
Yeah. My favourite was the bird racing out of the place and happening across something, being flambéed in the bed.
Yeah. And then runs into a gas line. Fucking brilliant. And then we just see shots of her fucking in the background screaming across the
racing across the restaurant.
Stop, drop and roll, dipshit. Fucking hell.
Oh, she fucking went up like a bloody, like a fucking match.
Unbelievable. Like some of that just had me fucking in stitches.
Yeah, same.
And people would say, why are you laughing at this? But the movie's making it like that.
Yeah, I think it's very intentionally.
There's strangely enough, a lightish tone to some of it.
Yeah, there is. And that one was, like we said already, it's probably my favourite of the series of those setups. But I think that's a big reason. It's got both of those things. It's got some really gruesome effects that are quite impactful, but also has those ones where you like, what are you supposed to do when Raindrops Are Falling on My Head starts playing and then bodies just start going boom, 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 boom around them? That's comedy. That is comedy, yeah.
And I think for the most part throughout the entire film, they get the set pieces right.
Yeah, yep.
Even the one at the barbecue, which you were fucking very concerned about when it was in the trailer.
Yeah, still concerning
a little bit, but it ended up working out quite well. It
ended up working out, and again, we were fucking laughing.
Although I couldn't stop laughing. It's like every fucking time we'd have a set piece, then it would cut to a cemetery, and then they'd fucking bury something. And I'm thinking, imagine
they did it the first couple of times.
Conversation at the wake.
Yeah.
So what happened to your dad? Oh, a fucking lawnmower chewed the top of his head off.
Yeah, he steps on a bit of glass.
Fell over. And a lawnmower
directly into the path of a rogue lawnmower. You wouldn't read about it.
Yeah, it's just a fucking freak accident.
Yes, yeah.
But they were constantly showcasing, like, they'd go from set piece to fucking funeral.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like,
I think there was one part at the end where I kind of
You said it
lied
should
to you.
have
I said,
been
are they
four
just going to have like 3 coffins next to each other for this one or what? I think that's an underused part of the Final Destination series, showing everybody's funeral.
Oh, but it was still fun. And there was a point where she kind of explains what might happen.
Yeah.
A soccer ball might get kicked, and this might happen. The the fucking air blower guy might do this, and they do a little bit of a switch, and they put it on a different character, and it's fucking hilarious. It happens exactly as she said it would, and then it all sort of changes, but it's a different character. I thought that was a cool little fucking way to play with it a little bit. Yeah. And they did the same thing with another character where you think they've died, and then they don't. We switch up.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what makes this feel a little fresher.
Yeah, definitely.
Is they've kind of got the tried and true formula.
Yep.
But we've just shook it up just a smidgen.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we can't take it too far away from what it is, or people aren't going to like it.
Yep.
So we'll just give it a little light. Just shake it briefly.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be okay. And it turned out really well.
Yeah, I thought it did too. Yep. Getting onto the Bloodlines aspect.
Yeah.
It actually played better than I was expecting. Like it sufficiently explained my query about why the fuck Death's taking so fucking long.
Sufficiently, although Death is lazy.
Death needs to work
he
faster.
needs to fucking work a bit harder.
And it did.
You're
brought
a spectral force.
You don't get tired. You don't need to sleep. It sufficiently answered a couple of the queries that I had. It raised more questions.
Jared, I'm not going to lie. When she said, take the book, I was like, oh, fuck, here we go.
If you haven't told me why the book's got the plane and the fucking all the other stuff from you're not related to any of that, are you? Or just, they did come back to that and involving Tony Todd, where they're kind of just basically saying, well, it's got an order. Yeah. And so now these people that Death took a long time to get to, who now have fucking grandkids. He's got to work through them first.
Yeah, Death's fucking busy at the moment. Not going to have time to get to these guys just yet.
Very busy. But I mean, a couple of those people would have just fallen over before Death got to them. They would have just said, look, I'm about 100 now. Death hasn't got me yet.
Death took them.
I'll do it for you.
They died of fucking natural cause. But I was concerned, like you, from what they showed in the trailer. I was very concerned. My fears were allayed quite a bit. I think they did a reasonable enough job.
Yeah, it was a pretty straightforward
for a movie like this, where the plot's not going to be it's not going to be fucking Shakespeare, is it now? So I think they did enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say, my sphincter tightened when when we meet old woman River, who's been hiding for fucking 50 years. Yeah. Who says, take the book, it'll protect our family. I was like,
yeah.
I would have said, I haven't got time for this.
No. Sorry.
Thanks. I'm not interested.
Thanks. Yeah.
I've got other things to do. I've got uni to get through.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
overall,
what about, I'll cop that.
Yeah, yeah. It made me they never sufficiently explained why the granddaughter was getting the visions, but no other bastard was the whole time.
Yeah.
Either. There was a couple of people, obviously, in the series that have. That's the one thing they hadn't.
No, but she didn't get the visions.
Who?
The girl. She didn't actually get.
No,
visions.
she didn't get the vision, but she got a vision.
Did she? I thought she was having a dream.
She was having a dream that was essentially the vision.
Yeah, I know, but she didn't get visions of anything else, or
well, she kind of did, because she fucking nailed that one at the front of the house.
But that was a guess. That was a good guess. I mean, you've got a kid kicking a soccer ball. You got some asshole with a fucking blower.
Turn your fucking leaf blower off.
You've got
You're putting us all in
garbage
danger.
Truck next to you. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah,
everything,
look,
Jared.
That was kind of funny because of that. It's like she's, but it's why is you saying that still hasn't answered my question?
I know.
Why did she get the first vision but not
Jared? I think.
And why
that,
did a few of the other people in the series have the ability to see it as well?
Jared, the writers looked at each other and said, "Why?" And then they said, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah. We'll try to explain one big part of the series, but then we'll leave another
other bits out. Yeah, I agree. It did not explain any of that at all.
No.
Like I got 0 out of that.
Yeah.
Why the fuck was she the one?
And why would she be having the
dreams?
dream if she couldn't see the fucking visions?
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know. I thought that would be like a forerunner to seeing some of the.
But why would you be having dreams about something that A, you don't know anything about really? B, why is the rest of the family at her level not having the same dreams?
Yeah.
Why weren't we told by the cousins I had the same fucking dream last night?
It just introduced another aspect. I never needed to know why people were having the premonitions, but then they throw this out there and I'm like, okay, well, now I kind of need to know. You're fucking mixing things up on me. You're jinking and you're sidestepping, but we still haven't. But you're
fucking head wobbling.
I need the explanation because you've changed up what was happening.
I can't keep it straight. Let me put it that way.
But it was a fairly minor complaint. But
no, it didn't hurt what we saw.
No, but my big thing is that none of that stuff seemed to really matter towards when we start to get down the stretch of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no one could fucking see anything going wrong at that point. Nobody knew what was going on.
And also, like, I think this is the only movie where a guy's fucking cock ring's been dragged out of his fucking dick by an MRI
Jeez,
machine. You know what? That's where you think about the choices you've made.
I think the lesson is keep your piercings to a minimum. Ears, maybe nose, that's it.
Keep it out of your cock. I think it's the fucking first thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you are questioning your fucking life choices. As a MRI machine pulls your dick off.
Because it's attached to a fucking bull ring or something. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to throw another like in here before we start speaking about anything we thought was a little negative. Tony Todd.
Yeah.
It was just nice to see him one last time. He gives a nice little performance.
Yep.
He kind of closes the book on that character.
The voice still had the gravitas.
The voice still had the gravitas. He didn't look great. It's clearly he was ill, but just nice to see him. And
it was a nice little touch to sort of have him very clearly on his way out, sort of make a little comment on that.
Yeah.
In a series that's kind of about that.
Well, it's interesting because I read something about the director speaking to him at the time saying, look, you say whatever you like. If you want to say something to your fans, like put it into the monologue.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want.
Yep.
As a bit of a little bit of wisdom before you go, and I think that's really nice. And I think it came off very nicely too.
It did. Yeah, I thought it was really nice actually. Very touching moment in the midst of all the chaos.
Touching in a film that likes to rip your heart out and fucking throw it on the ground.
Yeah.
So I was
because I know as we spoke last time, I always had a soft spot for Tony Todd. And was always happy to see him in the series, but I just felt like in Final Destination, his character just kind of gave you not much.
It was marred.
It's like, I know everything, but I haven't really helped you much.
I know everything, I know nothing.
Yeah. I'm giving you pointers, but everybody that I've given a pointer to ends up dying. Yeah. So it's like...
The character was marred by shit dribbling. Like, he did a lot of dribbling with no real explanation.
Yes.
So this was more focused.
It was a nice little bow on things.
We had an explanation for it.
And I was happy enough with the explanation.
Yeah.
It actually fit in with what they were running with the Bloodlines thing. It actually fit in nicely.
Yeah, agreed.
And so, yeah, when we got that and it was just, rather than it was, here's how to do it, he kind of just gets that out of the way and says, there's a couple of ways, here it is. And then he just basically just sails off into the sunset with a nice few lines and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a.
I thought it was a really nice way to sort of close the book on that. And it's sad that he's gone fully, but I think a nice little tribute to end it.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Yep.
Negatives, Jared. And again, none of this ruins the experience for me. So I would always say that if I'm weighing it up, this stuff weighed less. Okay? The acting, pretty poor. We didn't have a lot of great thespians in there. She was a touch up
Once
and down.
Tony Todd's on screen, it's pretty clear who the best actor is.
Yeah, correct. And Tony's fucking, Tony is at the end of the career and, sick and everything, and he's a far better actor than everyone else. And everyone in the room with him looks fucking off their game. That's not good. You know what I mean? And
well, they didn't have much to do.
the only one who makes any kind of mark is the guy with the piercings.
Yeah,
he kind of worked up a little bit of humour. He had a little bit more to work with.
Yeah,
and I think he did a reasonable job.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, I mean, the main girl was very, very flat for me. It didn't really matter because it's kind of almost ensemble. You're stuck with a heap of different characters.
Yeah.
But she was pretty flat.
Yeah, I think it's probably time for me to get some glasses because the first time her dad came on screen, there was a good 5 to 10 seconds where I was thinking, is that Ricky Steamboat?
He was a shocking actor too.
He was Ricky Steamboat for a minute.
Ricky Steamboat, fucking don't give up your day job.
Get a couple of close-ups and I'm like, that's not Ricky Steamboat.
Well, where did Ricky go become a fucking actor?
He didn't.
That's the thing.
He didn't.
Yeah, do your research, for fuck's sake.
He should have. But judging by if this bloke can get in.
What else did I dislike? Well, we talked about explanations. Some of them were grasping.
Well, as I said, the biggest one for me in terms of the explanations was that you made me question something that I've never really questioned in the series before with the premonitions and how they work because you've started to stretch the rules a little bit. We're starting to kind of step outside the lines. The referee's got the whistle to the lips ready to kind of.
Jared, the rules are different. It's a different game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that I couldn't stop laughing at. And again, you want to suspend disbelief, but the woman. Iris has been holed up in a compound for 50 years or whatever the fuck it was.
Which supposedly she's death-proofed. Death-proofed.
Death-proofed.
But it looks to have fucking death traps everywhere.
Yeah. But you had to put all that shit up.
Yeah.
Are you telling me nothing fell on you and pulverised into the ground?
It was still working through the order at that stage, Adam. And as we said, death takes a long time.
Yeah.
Death was working at a fucking glacial pace.
What was Death doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, have you? Is there?
I mean, at least they thought They thought that through and said, if we're running with this Bloodlines idea, then we have to have a lot of people that survive it.
Yes.
So that this family can have a number of grandchildren by the time death comes knocking on the door. And so they do set up that, hey, this was, by the time you start seeing the list, well, when you look at the opening scene, there's 50 to 100 people, would you think?
Yeah.
So they did throw that in there. They did sort of at least put the thought to say, this has got to be a big disaster.
Yeah, okay. But still, I did not feel appropriately satisfied with
it also doesn't answer
stuff.
It also raises questions about the other movies. So for example, the first movie is the plane, right? Which we're led to believe now is somebody is related to somebody who survived the tower. Correct?
Yes.
So the person on the plane has a premonition. I'm assuming the premonition came from someone related to the person in the tower, but they then say 5 other people. Does that add to Death's docket that he's got to get to before he gets to the next bloodline?
Yeah. Oh, that's
Because it seemed like it did. It seemed like they, once that happened,
that's
they
how
were.
how you end up with fucking grandchildren.
They
don't you?
inserted themselves at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the priority list. So this is where some of the Bloodline stuff doesn't work for me, because if you look through the other series, it's like, oh, well, now someone else has survived. So it just seems like, okay, any reaction from that is branching out and they've got to die first before we get back to, and this is how come you can get to someone who's been living for fucking 50 more years before death turns up to kill everybody else.
None of that makes sense. And that, again, don't think about it too hard.
No.
And I think you have a good time.
But these are the questions that it starts to bring up when you try to explain some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's questions that you're going to ask. Again, it didn't dull my enjoyment of the movie, but now when I go back, there's just that little thought in my head that's saying, okay, is this how it works? I can watch those movies and not fucking care about that.
But this is the thing, Jared. This movie's purporting to kind of try and explain it.
Yes.
That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Right? And so the filmmakers can't really go with, don't worry about that. Just have a bit of fun.
Yeah, just have a bit of fun.
But what you've done is...
I did have my fun, and I enjoyed the movie.
You've put yourself in the firing line, though, to say, you told us you were going to explain all this.
Yeah.
And when we finally get the explanation, it's fucking chock full of... It's a bit like the Bloodline. More questions.
I think you made a very pertinent comment at one point. You said, this is how you get a Halloween 6. You try to fucking explain everything. You get to Final Destination, Bloodlines, and then you pick up a couple of that, and then someone else makes a sequel that explains something else, and then someone like Dan Farron's get his hands on it and says, fuck, I've got to explain everything.
I need to put this together. Exactly. And that's my one concern, because this is clearly going to make money.
Yeah.
Substantial money, I would say.
Yep. And on the back of this, I'd be fucking straight in first weekend for another sequel.
What I don't want to find is that we did answer all this, so let's fucking answer that. Because that also goes down the Saw route of like one good movie that does some explaining pretty well, followed by one shocking film that fucking unravels it all for you.
And then another movie that has to do clean-up duty and does it pretty well.
Exactly.
But then we drop the ball again on the next one. We
don't need that. Okay, so whoever's going to be involved, we need to continue to keep sort of trying to sew it up gently.
Deep down, I do love it when they do this shit, because what would we have to crap on about if they didn't?
It gets laughs. Like
I love it.
Was there anything else you felt was a bit
off? As I said, I think down the stretch they start to drop these family relationships that were impacted by the Bloodline, which is a decent idea. You're starting with this woman who's become obsessed with. It's a bit like Laurie Strode and her daughter in the Halloween the David Gordon Green Halloween movie.
Yeah.
It's impacted your family relationships, and that sort of spreads down the Bloodline. But then when we get to sort of second, third act kind of work, there's a bit of a branching off. You mentioned, rings in places getting ripped out and things like that. That's one of the points where we sort of veer off for a good 10, it feels like maybe 10 minutes, that really adds up to not much.
Yes.
And then we go sort of to the home stretch with these characters that are this family
that we barely really have had much.
Yeah, which, to be honest, was probably my least favourite part of the whole movie.
And then at one point we have Mum going, she saved us. They're saying she saved us. And I'm like, saved you from what? Like, Mum did fucking nothing.
Yeah, she just took her place in the order.
She just got pummeled by a fucking light pole.
Mum didn't do much at all.
And I was just like, and then after that, the girl goes, oh, Mum saved us. I was like,
no.
When?
No. I mean,
Mum drove the RV.
She was next on the list, wasn't she? She was anyway. Yeah,
she did fuck all.
I thought the ending, that really just fizzled out.
Yeah, it was almost like we came in super hot.
Yeah.
And for about 50 minutes, we were burning fucking hot.
Yeah, we were on a roll.
And then it just slowly died the heat off. Yeah. And unfortunately, instead of coming home with a fucking flurry of action and shit, all sorts of shit coming on, it kind of died off.
It just dies off with really sort of bland. Bit of bland work.
Bit of a whimper.
Yeah, and tries to throw another little sort of twist in things. But yeah, all in all, I didn't have too much to complain about.
No, neither did I. And as I said, I weighed it with less weight. I said that the bad stuff wasn't heavily weighted for me.
Yeah. Very enjoyable time at the movies. A good one to see on the big screen because of the scale of that fucking first 20-odd minutes, for one.
And the D-Box added a nice touch.
Yeah, nice. We were fucking... I mean, at the start, we were fucking swinging and...
Oh, shit, it was all happening. Things slowed up a bit, though, which possibly had me nodding off for a couple of minutes, which could explain why I didn't understand the plot.
Possibly. I did look over at one point and saw you sort of tucking yourself up under your hoodie like an old lady with a fucking knitted blanket. I thought, what the fuck are you doing here?
You know what? I would have taken... I'd take a fucking blanket to the movies if I could. But I'm pretty sure I lost maybe 2 minutes. I can't tell you.
Well, considering it started at 9:15, and usually anything after 8:30 is touch and go with you. If you only lost 2 minutes, I'd say that's pretty
fucking good.
Pretty good, really.
I'm pretty happy.
Job well done.
I think I could return at 9:15 to next week.
Yeah,
something else.
You're fucking your match fitness is way up.
Hey.
You might only lose 90 seconds next time.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a pretty good return.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen we hadn't seen one for 15 years.
Yeah,
I think was
close to that
number.
Yep.
So
2011
to bring this back and bring it back as well as they have, and if it makes a fucking shitload of money, they should be loving
straight
themselves.
Back in the mix.
Is this a Warner Brothers one? I think it is.
I think so. Yeah.
They fucking. This is where old Zaslav. Is he in the Warner Brothers canon? Is that?
Yeah.
This is where because they've had 3 movies on the trot that are.
Well, he was going to fire. He was going to fire Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, and then they've just had Minecraft, Sinners,
and this.
And I'm pretty sure this is
Warner Brothers, I think.
So yeah, he might have to roll back on that because I think he was already conducting interviews around here.
Oh fuck me! Honestly, slow your roll, big fella.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it, Jared.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yep. I was a big fan.
All right, that was our reaction to Final Destination Bloodline. Keep an eye on the Facebook page to see what we cover next, but until then, take it easy, everyone, and we'll catch you all later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.